No, your salary policy is not what will determine my future salary. Not in this job market. A year ago, I walked into my boss's office and demanded a 15% salary raise. I presented to him some statistics of the average salary in my field of work and the numbers of years of experience I had at the time. I told him that he had told me that he was pleased with my performance. So I wanted the average. He told me that the salary raise I asked for wasn't in line with the company's salary policy, and that he could give me at most 5%. He also told me how outrageous my demand was, since it would mean that I would get more than others in the same department who had more years of experience than me. I said okay, as I didn't want to argue with my boss. I contacted a friend of mine who works in the recruiting business. He made a few calls, and a week later I was at a job interview with another company in the same city. They offered me a 25% salary increase and more benefits. I gave my boss the 1 month plus current month's notice, as is the law in Denmark. He was furious. I told my colleagues about the situation, and all 4 of them asked for my friend's number. And 3 months later they had all found a higher paid position. The entire department and all the knowledge disappeared because a company that made a $15 million USD profit didn't want to pay their workers a fair share. Last I heard, they had found 2 newly educated workers to replace us, but have had to turn down several potential multi-million-dollar sales projects because those projects are not going to happen without that department being fully staffed. But oh well, they saved some few pennies in salary expenses. Facepalm. Someone was being incentivized to minimize payroll without regard to revenue. Stems from a foolish mindset that employees are an expense rather than an asset or investment. As a fellow Dane, I fully expect this to happen in 2013-2023 when I have my 1-year salary interview. As everyone says, the only way to get a reasonable salary increase is to switch jobs. Which sucks because I love my workplace and my colleagues. Good on you for improving your situation. I saw this somewhere and it made perfect sense to me. People used to stay with companies because raises were fair. You got pension, etc. In other words, the company took care of you. Nowadays, the only way to get a fair raise is to get a new job. The culture they've created is coming back to bite them in the ass. Good for you op for making them pay through the nose. Damn. I need a recruiter friend lol. When a boss says it's unfair to other workers, it means the other workers also need to get a raise. Good story. Maybe. Slowly, companies will learn that it actually is worth it to turn loose of some of those profits to let those who actually earned them benefit from their own hard work. The day of any solution except more pay is ending. Hopefully, it can't be sustained. Probably the biggest underlying lesson here is the overall talent drain that happens in a situation like this. Losing one employee is bad, but you better believe there's a network effect that comes along with it. This manager probably thought that only one employee was at risk. The manager didn't even consider that these people would talk to each other and that the manager could convince more people to do the same. Once a month I have a one-on-one with my direct supervisor. And every single time I mention money and livable wages. This is a guy who is a Gen Xer who does the absolute minimum to keep his middle management job. Deliberately procrastinates buying supplies to ensure he has a decent EOY bonus for being under budget. Just bought his second house, cottage, for vacationing. And supervises a couple of warehouse workers and computer lab techs. Every time I bring up the cost of living, he counters with, "But if I paid you that much money, I'd have to offer everybody that much money." Way to miss the point there, bossman. You should be paying everyone that much money. That's what it costs to live here. I asked for 15% and got 0. Intensified my search then and ended up with 35% raise, better benefits and hybrid versus in-office 5xa week within 3 months. My boss didn't put up any fight when I put in my notice and was fine to let me go. Good riddance to them. Why do employers think, we can't do that? It'll expose that we're underpaying everyone else, is a valid argument? They'll do anything, including destroy their companies, rather than pay their own employees what they're worth. He also told me how outrageous my demand was, since it would mean that I would get more than others in the same department who had more years of experience than me. Sounds like our pay isn't competitive then. God, this is satisfying to read. Fuck them and good riddance. Companies these days expect workers to deliver perfect work as fast as possible whilst paying peanuts. Glad they lost a ton of money because they wouldn't increase your salary. They saved a few dollars to lose thousands. They can't see past the next quarter. I used to work at a bank and I kept getting told that we had the best year in history during pandemic. For over a year. Record-breaking profits. But nothing about wage increases. At my one-year review I did the math to show actual livable wages, going rate of pay for different positions, and showed the total investment it would cost the bank to give every single person earning under X amount to be properly paid and have wages distributed more equitably across the board. Needless to say, it didn't work as I hoped. They used it to increase some wages across the board, which was great. But it was like a half step. Penny wise and pound foolish. They don't understand that keeping staff well paid is an investment in keeping them with the company, along with any value they provide. Up until this employee shortage, we got told we can get anyone off the street to do your job, blah low rent management speak. All of a sudden, oh, we can't get anyone, we are losing more people than are joining, what surprise in. They treated appalling over COVID like it didn't exist. I am in September, I have a new job with more pay and less hours, sod them. There really need to be publications. Possibly ones where the material can be copied by established media outlets, which detail dozens or hundreds of examples of how Company X lost Y million dollars or equivalent because they wouldn't pay their workers. Start getting the word out. Start making employers nervous. This is basically exactly what's happening to me. Came in this company as my first job. Didn't want to ask for too much salary, so I went with WAF. They offered quite a bit lower than usual. Now I asked for a 10% raise and he didn't want to give it to me. Although I'm even underpaid and people with similar experience and function earn 20% more, he doesn't want to go higher. Now I'm considering to just move company, but it's such a shame that they don't want to give a bit more, especially in these times where prices have been risen to insane amounts. Fuck yo policy! Exclamation mark. Rick James said to Eddie Murphy's couch. 3 years ago I asked for a raise and they literally laughed in my face. Got a new job within the month with better benefits and 50% more pay. Now I make twice as much as I made at the old place through various promotions and position changes. In a former life I used to do web content for an e-commerce company. I was the only one doing that work in that particular company. I was let go because I insisted on taking my last vacation week for the year to be the best man at a friend's wedding. I returned to find out I was let go. With me went the knowledge of that entire website. It took them months to do a basic site update. They lost a lot of money for holiday sales that year. They finally had the guy running their eBay account open box and used products, etc. Attempt some updates. Then he left shortly after when he found out he wasn't paid enough, and after that, from what I heard, it was never the same. Company downsized and minimized their entire e-commerce operation, which used to outperform all their physical locations. All because they didn't like that I took my vacation week to attend a wedding.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Aircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.